This is the Elden Ring DLC tier list. And spoiler if you haven't finished the DLC, is these are bosses that you may or may not have fought yet. So yeah, we're going for it. So for this tier list, there was some bosses that honestly I don't even remember. I got them confused for some reason. I just had to go back and go look at the location on my map and make sure that I actually did fight them. Ancient Dragon Man's a so-so boss. I'm just gonna start out with that one. I like that he's a dragon and he's, it's just kind of cool. And his weapon's kind of cool, honestly. And the fight's it's a pretty decent fight. I could see it. I could see it as a B fight, but it's more of a so-so fight, I think. Uh, One quick thing that you might notice about this tier list is there actually is an F tier because there's at least two fights, and sometimes I've seen, as I've seen other people make tier lists. There's almost always a third or fourth thing in F tier. I only got two, but pretty similar to what other people are saying. And this is one of those fights that could be an F tier fight. This ancient dragon fight is absolutely terrible. Um, it is any of the electricity crap with all. It's just even in the base game when you're going and you're fighting the dragon lord dude, getting to him and all that electricity. This thing in the lake, it's just you're hitting the ankles. You're trying to break the dragon's ankles to get a kill. It's it's rough. But the very next boss that you fight after you beat is quite literally could be the best fight in the entire Elden Ring game or DLC. I would say that the cinematic is better than any of them. But the Radon fight may be in the base game, might be a little bit better for me. I'm not sure. I think I might put Bale up there. It's one of those two. These two Black Knight fights are random, you could say. They're not really, they're random encounters. I mean, there's not a wall of mist or anything. I think, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like something like that. These are also that way. All of these, like the Black Gold Knight, the four mausoleum bosses, I guess you could say. Up at the Black Gold Knight at B because it's the first one I fought, the first real boss I actually fought in the DLC, and he'll knock you out. If you're not ready for him, he will absolutely lay you out. And the other three, I mean, I think they're all C. I mean, they're essentially the same fight. The Red Bear's kind of interesting because I mean, it's a claw weapon versus dual weapon, and basically I don't want to call it a katana. I don't even remember what his weapon is, but a swinging weapon, I guess you could say. Um, and the fact that I used the Solitude armor to beat Radon, so I'm gonna give him the nod there. Chief Bloodfiend, I kind of like the kind of the arena, not the arena, but it's in the cave with all the blood, the red and everywhere, and it's a beat. I honestly didn't remember fighting him. For some reason, I could not remember if I fought this, and then I went back to the location. I was like, "Yep, I did fight them." In fact, so I would say B or C. Honestly, it's it's just one of those fights. I think I'll go B. It's the spectacle, the area. So this is one of those F tier fights I was talking about, Commander Gaius, which in my opinion could be the worst fight in Elden Ring, just for the sole fact of you have an undodgeable attack that's a pain. And yeah, I literally had my Scad Tree Blessing to 18, and my I think you get all the Spirit Ashes without fighting him. So I think I had my Spirit Ash summons to 10, and yeah, he was still a pain. You have to fight. I mean, basically, the main issue with this is if you want your best chance of beating Radon, you have to beat Gaius, and Gaius is such a pain. You can't dodge his attack. You can dodge it. I've seen videos of people dodging it consistently. I took off my armor and did light rolls. I did medium rolls. I kept seeing the way they were rolling, and it didn't make any sense to me. And I dodged it maybe once or twice, and you just get ran over. You just get charged. So basically, the way I beat him was I used Torrent. Every time he charged at me, if you dismount at just the right time, you won't take any damage. and it's like you're immune. And then turn around and you just cheesing the boss, which is stupid. I hate doing stuff like that, but it's just like if you can't dodge the charge, there was I mean, you're toast. Um, Count Ymir, I like this fight because there's a lot of detail in this quest line anyway. You know, fighting what's her name? Meter here. Um, and then going to Count Ymir. And the only reason I really knew it was a fight was obviously all the bloodstains in the area that said was marked as a safe zone. So I was like, yeah, there's gonna be a fight here. That, and then you killed the other one right before him. Um, I like the fight. I like the quest line behind it, and then he's actually gonna be other fingers. It may, it's interesting. Firstblade Labyrinth. This is another one of those that I really don't remember fighting. I don't. I looked up the video of someone else fighting him, and I was like, and then, well, I made sure that I fought him in game, but then I was like, well, I don't remember the fight at all, and I don't know how that kept happening. I would say DC though. I don't. If it wasn't that memorable, then, and I don't. I mean, the boss might be great, but it's just me fighting it. I was like, this just doesn't make any sense. These two Death Knights were pretty cool. I would say both the Death Knights were pretty solid fights. I mean, the electricity in one, and I don't remember the other ones. I think they were probably AB fights. I mean, I think they were up here. They were probably here. I mean, they're not bad. They're pretty good. I'd honestly say they're probably right here at worst. The highest B so far. This fight was horrendous. I mean, my gosh, they had one in the base game and they put another one in the DLC. I didn't like the fight in the base game, and the DLC fight wasn't any better because you're just going out on that lake and you got all the grave birds, or right birds, whichever one. They're just kind of sitting there waiting, and then this one comes down and it's just annoying. The frost breath pisses you off, but it's not. It's a repeat boss basically, and those to me are just not. Sometimes they're pretty cool. But that one was just an annoying boss in the base game, and it really kind of sucked, and it kind of sucked in the. I don't really know other way to put it. I don't. I don't want to. You guys, it might be someone's favorite boss. Who knows? This one, this fight was kind of a joke. I'll give it a D because of the out by the riverside. I mainly did it to go get the sword that they drop. Um, but it was I'd already. This was one of my go to try out a weapon in the New Game Plus, and so I went and got this one because I hadn't got it. And I was so overlapped. Well, I had all my blessings, and I'd already beat Radon at this point. And I mean, it probably would have been a cool fight if I'd have fought him during the game before I got up there. Um, this was another fight that I literally think that the other demi-human swordmaster. I think this is a nice fight, but I think I went down there and beat him really fast. I think because this was the first one that I remember I just went through and throttled. And I don't really remember the fight that much. I know the exact location. I can visualize myself going down to the exact location where you fight him. I remember going there. But I didn't even remember the name of the boss. I just absolutely destroyed him. Um, I would say I remember it being a cool fight, and and like I said, on a lot of these, once when I was running through, because there was a lot of like uh other things I was looking at and whatnot, and I kind of did everything out of order and whatnot. I don't. I think I beat this one pretty fast, and obviously, and one thing, I use the mimic. I use them. I'll say it. I was not one of those people that's gonna do no summons, no everything. This one, I don't think I used the mimic, but it just kind of got fast there for a second. So I really don't have a great opinion on it. I like this divine beast dancing lion. Obviously the first one in the Colosseum is a pretty fun fight with all the elements that he's got. I think he's got electricity and wind. Frost. But then the second one you fight, that one gets a little creative with the Death Blight. I think that's what it's called, where you just die instantly. And he gets all the little lizard frog guys. Some of them come fight. The first one is definitely an A tier. The second one, I'll just leave them because there's not a second dancing line on here. I'll leave it in A. The second one would probably still be A because it's even got even more. There's some extra added onto it when you fight it the second time. This thing was actually a pain. I actually fought this thing after beating Radon because I hadn't done the Count Ymir quest line yet because I skipped it somehow. And this thing was actually way stronger than I thought it was in the base game when you see it in the volcano crater or whatnot. Pretty decent boss. I think it's actually a little bit different. I'll have to go back and look at the one in the base game, but this one seems a little bit different. It just seems stronger against what I was doing, and I essentially, even though I changed my build, I still was running a slash bleed build, partially. But I'll say D. It's a repeat boss. It was one I had no idea that's where it was at. I just kind of walked over to it because you see the little void vortex or whatever you call it, and then the boss fight started. Furnace golems. I actually did not like these fights a whole lot. I like the spectacle of seeing the one when you first go get into the DLC. You see that one off in the distance, and then there's like 8 or something around the map. I did like how it was a little bit creative on how the best way to kill them was with the hefty pots. But you can still critical hit their face whenever you got them staggered and they fall down. The fight itself actually kind of sucks because you really don't get to actually do any kind of fight other than hitting their ankles until they fall down, and then you can hit them in the face or throw a pot in it. I would say B for the spectacle and the journey, because you obviously ain't going to go fight one of those as soon as you walk in there. Like, my first one I killed was well into the DLC, and I just did it mainly just to do it. The Ghost Flame Dragons. I'm going to be honest with you. Was there a Ghost Flame Dragon in the base game? I don't really remember, but the one where you're fighting, there's like 12 of the soldiers or 15 of the soldiers fighting it, and you run up on it when it's just destroying that camp. That fight's pretty cool, other than whenever you start getting aggro from all the soldiers. Everybody said the best way to beat it would literally just be to stand there until it kills all of them and then attack it, because it's usually at like 75-80% health at that point. I don't remember. I don't know which one's version 1. I don't know which is version 2. And I'm pretty sure there's a third one if I'm not mistaken. But the ones in the lake, the other ones in that village, it's a dragon. It's a dragon. Like all the other dragons. It's not as bad as this one. I'll give it that. I'll say it's not as bad as this one, but it is. It's close to E. It's close to E. This fight was terrible. This fight was terrible. The Golden Hippo is the other one. Oh my gosh, dude. F tier. Sorry about it. I actually liked the idea of the hippo, and I liked its second phase, but the problem with the hippo is it's just such a massive boss, and there just seemed like there was no way. I tried to fight it 1v1, and there was just no way to dodge its charge with its mouth open. It just felt like I would glitch back into it. I don't really understand what was going on there. But then, I mean, but you know, you have to, there's 5 hippos, or 4 hippos they have to kill to get the fragments. And I just wish, I don't know, I liked it that it had a second phase, and it was pretty cool in the second phase, but it's just the area. The area and the fact that rolling just seemed like you would get attacked either way. It almost not quite undodgeable like Commander Gaius, but it was honestly, yeah. I'm gonna put the hippo right here because it's an F tier fight, but it's not as bad as this one. It just felt like I couldn't dodge it either. for some reason. Jagged Peak Drake. I mean, once again, it's another dragon. Um, if I'm remembering correctly, this is the one that because I get them all mixed up in my head. This is the one. There is a part where you're two are fighting each other, and you can kill both of them. I think that's where we're at. I think that's the right place. Um, and it's just another dragon fight. I mean, eh, once again, not as bad as the ancient dragon fight. Well, it's pretty close. But the dragons outside of Bale, it just felt like, Bale, you pretty much had to attack his head or you were never going to beat him. This Lamenter, I remember this thing because it has the where it duplicates itself. And I think that was pretty creative. I'll be honest. I think this boss is pretty creative. Or it makes like a bunch of Doctor Strange's itself and makes like 9 copies or something. I don't think it was that great of a. It was a great idea, and I think that's why I'm putting it in B and not C. I like Ancient Dragon Man better than it. That's what I hate about doing tier lists because you eventually get to the point where it's just like, well, I mean, this one, because Ancient Dragon Man, I don't think was that bad. Lamenter, because it duplicates itself, is pretty cool, and I think it's the one that makes it dark. No, 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 no. That's the not that one. That is the not even on here. I don't think it's on here. One, no, oh, that's the Labyrinth. Yeah, I think is that the Labyrinth. That's the one that makes it darker. Yeah. Mesmer is an S tier fight. I think it's just pretty sweet. The spectacle of pulls his eye out. It's a big deal. I actually didn't have as many problems in this fight as I saw some other people did. I don't know what it was, and like I said, I'm using a mimic, so that's a big reason why it's not as hard as it could be. Um, but I like both phases of the fight. This fight is pretty sweet. At this point, I had a fingerprint stone shield, because this is after Radon, and she has a giant fingerprint on her face. Or it's essentially one of those things from Spy Kids, but it's a giant version of one of the finger creatures. And the fact going down going to all the ruins and ringing the bells, and then going down and going under the Ymir altar or whatnot, and going and just to the fight. It's a cool area. It reminds me of a little bit of a mix between not really Renala's, but kind of maybe like Astell's in a way, but you're closer. This is probably one of the best designed bosses in this entire game. Um, I found this fight on accident. I was going after Spirit Ashes, and I found this fight. Because one of the ones is on that little the thing that hangs in the ceiling, like the little circular thing. I can't remember what they're called now. Chandelier. One of the Spirit Ashes is there, and then you hear the yelling. Go around the corner. It's right there. The first phase is kind of it's kind of whatever. Then this phase, it makes it even cooler because it ties in what you would be if you take the Lord of the Frenzy Flame ending, which is interesting. I wonder if anybody's done that ending and then went and fought that fight and see if there's like an interaction. I should have done that in my second playthrough because I went through and beat all three ways. After I beat the DLC, I went through and did the quickest playthroughs of the other two. But this this night, actually, I had no idea where it was at, and it is by far the most annoying areas of the entire game. With those little centipede, I don't know what you call them, the stone centipedes that shoot the purple thing at you, paired with some of them birds. I was just trying to run through the area, get to the end basically, because this was a post Radon thing that I did, and he's basically doing He's basically doing jump rope with that thing he's holding in his hand, and then he sends his horse out. It's a pretty cool fight. I like the area. I think it's a. It would have been a whole lot better for me to play when I was not maxed fragment level. I think it's probably C or B. Probably BC. Pretty interesting fight. Radon, um, obviously the pinnacle of the DLC. The only problem I really had, this is not a Radon problem, this is a skill issue problem, is I went the backhand bleed build, and went through the DLC and killed everybody in the DLC that I did before I beat Radon. Got to Radon, and I literally had a time where I went and was able to get into the second phase, and it was like 30, well, not 30, 40 seconds maybe. Like if you dodge that initial where he turns purple and he comes at you, you dodge that, you get a few good bleeds in, you can literally get into stage 2 in no time. But I could not get past that. Whenever he goes up in the air, in stage 2 or in phase 2, whenever he's doing like the little attacks where he will like come at you like 4 times, if they're you're just trying to dodge them all before he actually attacks you, I just couldn't get past it. I literally switched my build and respec 3 times after going through the entire game with the bleed build. The only thing that I don't like about Radon in this fight, I think he's an AB. The only thing, I'll say the highest B or the lowest A, because the fight itself is like this is the Elden Ring fight. This is the one. This is way harder than the Elden Beast was, in my opinion. And it's just because I didn't have to respect the Elden Beast. I just went through and beat him. But just the repeat. I think that's the only disappointing part. I think it's a BA fight. I just only because it's the hardest for me, the hardest boss that I've played in Elden Ring, and it's a repeat. That's the only thing. Because it's like you're the top of the castle, and you're fighting him, and then Yella comes in, and it's an A or B fight. I'm tempted to just say A. I'm not S. I cannot give it S just because it's a repeat boss. A B for me. Radon, it's tough. I mean, the fight itself is the toughest fight in the game. Even with the summons, even with the Spirit Ash, even with any of it, is the toughest fight. Now you've seen all the videos of people one-shotting him or two-shotting him or whatnot, but everybody's going to get those strats eventually. Once they want to. I would say it's an AB. I don't think it's a C, but I definitely don't think it's an S. You know what? I'll give it an A just because I had to change my build 3 times. I finally beat him on the 3rd time that I changed it. I'll give him an A just for the difficulty. And I like Radon. I mean, Radon in the base game is the guy, him, and Lania, as far as the toughest or the coolest and toughest bosses. I mean, both the bears, they're just essentially giant bears. They're nothing, they're cool. I ran up on one of them on accident because I was going to an area that didn't have anything in it, and I kind of found it. I would say CD because they're just essentially giant rune bears. There's nothing, I mean, the fights themselves, it would be like fighting any bear. It's the same thing with dragons. I think you can put them on the same level. Now this fight, I actually really like this fight. I think this S tier or A tier fight. I like her blades. I like the spectacle of her fight is actually Rolana. Rolana, right? The spectacle of this fight with the 2 swords is just it's another great scenery fight basically. And that's why I usually win into most fights without using the mimic first. If I got killed instantly, you know, I usually after a few tries doing that, I would use it. But I really wanted to see them. Like I wanted to see what they're doing, you know, because if you use the mimic and especially on a bleed build, and I'm just over there, you know, hitting and the mimic's hitting, and we're getting bleeds off, and the fight's over before you know it. Um, you don't really get the spectacle, but I like this boss, Romina. You know the funny thing about Romina is I was actually outside of this door before I got to Mesmer. Like I was outside of her door, and I don't remember if it's blocked or if I went in there and died and I knew I was too low of a blessing level. But I kind of like this fight because she's kind of like I don't know if you call her a spider or whatever she is, you know, scorpion, you know, whatnot. I thought the fight was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I mean, the problem with her was I just beat Mesmer and I immediately teleported right to her side of grace and went in and just destroyed her. It was like the spectacle of Mesmer's over kind of carried into that, and I just destroyed her. I mean, um, this fight is another interesting fight. I'll be honest with you. The Scattertree fight, the Avatar. I sat there, actually made it to that door. I think even before I fought Mesmer. To be honest, I think if you can, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can if you have to fight Mesmer before you get to the Avatar. I don't really remember. Um, but very early in the game, I got to the outside the door to fight the Avatar, and got destroyed. You know, if you call in, you know, a mimic or your ash or anything right at the beginning, it throws those like roots at you or whatever you want to call it, and it's pretty much almost a guaranteed hit every time. Um, but I didn't understand for a long time why it would sit there after you killed it. Obviously, I figured out it had a second phase, but then I was either watching somebody play or one of my friends said something like, well, you have to critical hit it whenever it's down in the face. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Because this is before I realized there was a third phase. And so then that happened, and then I made it through the second phase pretty easy. And then the third, and then I did, and then I was like, oh, is it like, do I have to attack it again? And so I just did it. And then there was a third phase, and I'm like, okay, so before I was getting through the first phase with like 4 potions left, maybe, and then I was able to get it once I know you could do the critical hits to its face. But 3 phases on a boss, and the fact that it helps you, or just the area. I mean, it's a massive area. You know, it's got all the gold on the ground and whatnot, and then it's a massive avatar. It's not just the ones that you see scattered throughout the base game. You know, it's pretty massive. Um, these tree sentinels, they were in a weird place to be completely honest. And they're tree sentinels. Even there's like 10. I mean, there's like so many tree sentinels in the game that are just. It's just. I mean, I actually fought. It was weird because I was in the middle of kind of, but where both of them could aggro me, and I only fought one of them. Then the second one came up, and I fought it. And then I went back through the area because I died. I think I either fell off the map or something stupid for sure, and came back through. One of them respawned. I didn't understand that, but they're just tree sentinels. Um, this fight, this fight is the one on the way to the frenzied flame. I think to get the door to get to that swamp or whatever you call it, where those little guys with the head that you feel like you couldn't kill were at. And this was like almost a funny fight because he just kind of randomly walks out there, and you fight him, and then it's like, well, I was just doing it to get the revered spirit ashes, and you know the DLC was I will give it to him. The DLC was very good. I mean, I'll give it to him. The DLC if for a DLC that was what $30 or $40, I think, depending if you get the deluxe or not. It was very much worth it. I probably got, I think I beat Elden. I probably got 20 or 30 hours worth in the DLC, and so it was definitely worth it. And that's just, I mean, that's not, that was almost kind of speed running it too, because also, I mean, I probably got 30 or 40 hours in the DLC. Because once I started to settle down and start gathering stuff and just try to fight everything, it got to the point, and that in Radon, I mean, I probably spent a while because I had to respec. I had to respec 3 or 4 times, and I had to find those weapons, get the smithing stones, and um, yeah, Radon took me a little bit, but in overall, this DLC was actually very good, and I mean, Elden Ring in general is a good game. It's honestly one of those things that you hate to see that this is the only DLC, because I think they've already said that they're not going to revisit Elden Ring unless it's another form of media, TV show or something. Um, but yeah, this is my first real Souls game, I guess you could say, that I played. I mean, Armored Core 6 was made by From Software, but it was kind of mission by mission. It wasn't the same as like a open world RPG, just kind of do whatever. But yeah, I mean, shout out to Elden Ring again. I didn't think I was ever going to play the base game, and I actually bought the DLC before I beat the base game, and then halfway through the base game, I was like, well, this may not be looking good, but they did it. I mean, this is another spectacle. One of the greatest games of all time, one of the best DLCs of all time. Um, and we'll see what they got next. And I may go back and play, you know, may go back and play one of the other From Software games. I don't know, or a Souls-like game going forward. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, this is the Elden Ring DLC tier list. Uh, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back through it again. Um, like I said, I've already done the 3 different endings in the base game, and after going through the DLC one time, it may be fun to go back and fight Radon with just random builds and see if you can beat him, and maybe all the other ones too. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, that is Elden Ring.